Hello, everybody. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. As you can tell, where I am, it's dark and actually rainy, kind of icy rain and cold, which is very typical for the area I live in the Pacific Northwest. It's not snowing, very common for this time of year, and this is about to be the darkest hour of the entire year where I live. Now, so interesting. How does this relate to eating? Working with people lately, and especially inside the Eating Peace program, as we inquire and study, we're accessing peace. And of course, the place to notice that, most importantly, is where we are not having peace. Noticing. And instead of just saying like we often do, which I used to say all the time, I don't have peace in any moment, ever, at any time, especially when it comes to food or eating, is to question that thought in a very simple way. We could just start with that. Is that actually true? Never, ever, ever a moment of peace with food. I noticed even in my worst and most horrendous, life-threatening, eating disordered states of body and mind, I still made it, right? I survived. So it's good to just notice that no matter how traumatic it feels to be experiencing eating and having a body, there is something that is okay, still alive, persisting, open, and what a magnificent thing to learn whatever it takes, to be here to learn whatever it takes to discover that peace that's possible. What a magnificent thing. I don't know if I felt it every moment, but I love that I stayed the course in a way without even trying to. That something in me was like, I am not leaving here, I'm planet Earth, until I understand this. I know that I was born as a human being with the ability to eat, stop eating, think, feel, have a body, and have it be in balance, not so off balance. And something has happened here that I've taken in or learned or accessed or has become part of my psyche and my mind that isn't ultimately really true for me. But something has happened here. The good news about that is you've learned it. So things have happened, often a bit of them accumulating from childhood and our experiences, which I'll talk about in a minute. And so the good news about that is, if it's become a part of you through living life and hearing things and learning things and watching things and knowing things from other people, contact with your reality and your world, then you know it's possible to unlearn it. It's possible to unlearn anything and not have it bother you anymore. But it may take some self-inquiry and some slowing down and being willing to hold still and look to things that are very scary. So, what I wanted to share today was inquiring deeply into looking at your dinner table in situations that you remember were particularly stressful. So I love this morning in this Eating Peace program, the private group, somebody remembered all of a sudden being forced to eat spinach by grandmother, and her parents were there. What an interesting experience, because some of us had that teaching given to us by the people who cared and thought they were doing good, just like it was done to them, that here's the way you should be eating. And there's a lot of directives, often from mothers or matriarchs of the household, because they've typically been in charge of cooking food. And even as one person noticed, when you're a baby and you're an infant and you're nursing, even if you were bottle fed, the mother's holding the bottle, the mother's holding you in her arms. So there's just an idea about mother, and of course the imperfect mother that we had, and the ideal kind of mother that we all hold also in our minds and our hearts. But so this experience of mothering and having it involve food and having it involve directives about what we should be eating in order to be healthy and being forced to eat. And I remembered in my household, I've thought of this before in the past, there was a rule that you must take 3 bites. Nothing really wrong with that rule. Nothing with having ideas, even about food plans and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And not eating this food over here, but going ahead and eating this food over here. But sometimes they have these moral values put to them, like all vegetables, and if you eat a lot of them, that means you're a really, really good person. You're getting the prize, a gold star, you're winning. It's the right way to be. It's the good way to be. It's the holy way to be. And you're, even supporting your health and your body, and you're doing the right thing. And if you eat this stuff over here, sugar or flour, or I don't know, you can have certain meat perhaps even for some people. And I'm not saying that any of us would eat those to counteract this idea, but those are bad and wrong. And you're a bad person and you shouldn't be doing it. You're evil and it's the wrong way to be. It means something's wrong with you if you eat this over here, right? Or even are interested. You shouldn't even be interested in that. And just notice some of the old ideas about really strict and intense religious ideals or political ideals or philosophies about human existence and life, or there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it, and it shows up in our food. And I just found it incredibly stressful always to have that kind of intensity that had sort of a moral value to myself as a human being. If I was even interested in that food over there, I'm a bad person. So I love this inquiry where somebody shared she's sitting at the table and it was being forced to eat spinach when she was very young, 5 or 6 years old, and actually throwing up later, which sort of made me chuckle in my heart. It was like a child can be so disgusted. I remembered when my dad decided to raise rabbits, and I was only about 8 years old. And one day, after having rabbits for a whole season, playing with them, naming them, it turned out we had rabbit stew on our dinner table, and I was completely nauseated. It was the first time I'd ever, had this idea about eating an animal, even though I'd probably eaten meat a lot up to that point because my family wasn't vegetarian. But I didn't have to make any bold decisions at that point. That means the right way to be is vegetarian. But I did notice I had so much emotional turmoil at the time that I felt incredibly nauseated about the food that was presented before me, and I could not eat it. And I wasn't forced to. But these moments can be, here's going crazy with the wind, these moments can be incredibly powerful for inviting self-inquiry and looking. Because we have these moments, they get filed in the memory files, they get logged in as a teaching. Oh, here's how I should be. Oh, now I got it. If you eat spinach, you're doing it right. You're being healthy. You're a good person. If you eat celery, you're very, very good. Gold star, A+. And it is so wonderful to move beyond that kind of moralistic value on food and eating, and to just notice with an open heart and an open mind what works for you and what doesn't. What feels kind. What feels loving, supportive, friendly. What you can take in. What I do notice about reality and the universe is you can resist things that happen in the world, and they happen anyway. So can we just be with what is? Can we be with what is no matter what happens? I mean, people get sick, troubling things happen, there's death, there's injury, pain, there's emotional pain, there's transitions in relationships. These things happen in the world. Can we be with them no matter what without there being a label on it? That is a bad thing, and I can never get through it, and then I'm a bad person and something's wrong with me. That is a good thing. That means I'm doing it right, and my attitude is right, and I'm being supported by God or reality of the universe. Maybe everything just is. So really inquire. The most important thing is to use the 4 questions and inquire if you notice you're against what's happening and you feel like it's D minus or F for failure. So just simply noticing that we put that on food and we put that on just about everything that happens in reality. Notice when you put something on that, good, bad, labeled, it's going to be trouble. It's going to be hard because you're going to be trying to access goodness, to just relax. Relax with what is. It is not good. It is not bad. See what works. All right. Let me know how it goes.